Yeah, the topic for today we have chosen is how electronics can become a hobby, especially in the present age and time when screens are envied, screen addiction is at large. Small toys that we buy children, the electronic gadgets that create sound that moves, become so interesting. So somewhere there is an attraction there. So we need to utilize that interest that is in children to bring forth. My friend actually started, is my age, but they started electronics hobby club to engage adults who are addicted to screen. So I thought maybe this is a cool idea where you get ready-made kits that you can make things of. So that's something parents can consider, where children build something, they see it works, it doesn't work, and the whole process of exploring. And we should look at some purposeful projects, where we use it, maybe a motion alarm that a child can make and like mesmerized by the electronics part of it. And maybe that will lead them to something more constructive later on because they become curious about how these things work. Can they build it themselves from scratch? And they get engaged in making it work. It doesn't really work the first time around. Even if it's a ready-made kit, they may have put a battery in the wrong way. They may have used resistor in the wrong position. It doesn't work. Something will fail. And they'll be curious to know what failed and how can they fix it. So it becomes a foundation for thinking differently. What we need to bring in children today is how to think. It's not automatic thinking, and it's applicable for us too. So how to think differently, how to come up with different solutions, looking it from different perspectives. That is the need of the AI world. Only those of us who can think creatively can truly ride this wave of AI, because AI cannot think creatively. That is where human input is required. So electronics is one of the ways where it's modern enough, they're building something that's practical and useful, and they may innovate based on that, and they may come up with a lot of rural projects we see. Children have come up with such innovative products that if we get our children into doing, it becomes an asset. Neurologists say that you feed that information, that thought. Steiner also says that sow the seeds, and it may sprout anytime in the future. So the seed is to build something on your own that is useful for around the house, for example. And then you start building on something trivial, something small with whatever is around the house. But because that thought is in there, the child keeps thinking about what do I do? How do I do? Where do I get information from? I mean, of course, getting information from now is very, very easy, but implementing that is hard. Implementing that is when I sit down with my hands, with my time, I see them work, not work, fall apart, and that gets me going on how to fix it, how to make it better. That becomes a healthy alternative to screen. It's like dopamine kick. I want to do more, I want to fix it, I want to make it better, I want to make it faster. So they get into that. That curiosity brings in the real learning. And that curiosity, that different way of thinking, that ability to get different perspectives will also help children in academics. And right now, if you look at academics, it is not very interesting for children. It's very abstract, it's exam oriented, it's like mundane, and they really don't see the need for it. What will I do with the Battle of Panipat, by studying the dates and the times in which this happened, to the present day world where I don't even have to go fight face to face. It is you press a button and the whole country is destroyed. So what's the point of studying about this? But then unless I am as a teacher very, very capable of learning lessons from the history, from the past, I will not be able to convince children. So learning becomes very, very abstract. What do I do with trigonometry? What do I do with calculus? What do I do with water system, water cycle? So science topics are a little bit more tangible because we see around, but typically math and languages and all that become something that child will not get as much interest. And also the way the textbooks are, sometimes also the way we put it across to children. But when it is hands on, when the child gets involved in something, the that involvement itself takes learning to a different level. With one simple circuit that they are going to build with this electronic kit, they're going to learn physics, they're going to learn math, they're going to learn time management, they're going to learn problem solving, they're going to learn observation. So many things are happening. Learning becomes alive. Just like how when we cook something new, we are learning, the temperature on which to set on, how long should it be baked, how long should it be broiled, whatever that recipe requires. We become involved and eventually we also taste it, and the effort all depends eventually on the outcome. Similarly, in the electronic projects, it depends on if the buzzer will just go off when I go past it. If I'm doing a motion detector alarm, will it go off? If it doesn't, then I have to do something else. Why isn't it going off? So problem solving ability develops. It's unbelievable. Many, many things can go wrong. I may not be good in reading instructions, even if I buy an electronic kit. I may not have patience. I may just look at it and quickly fix it, and the circuit won't work. Sometimes when we program, it crashes. I don't see. One of the reasons why I moved from doing my major in physics to major in computer science was that, computer science was very interactive. I could write a program to do 2 plus 2, and the result must be 4. If the result came as 5 or the program crashed, I know something was wrong in my coding. And it was interactive. Physics wasn't for me, right? So many of the things don't work right when we put these kits together, and that becomes an input for further learning, because somewhere child develops this patience, child develops this ability to experiment, child is willing to wait to make it work, perseverance. Right now we have problem with instant gratification. I do something, I want it immediate response, and I post a video of mine at midnight and I want 100 likes by the time I wake up. That's kind of world we are living in right now. So I need to build that delayed gratification, wait for the success, resilience, build that ability to fail and get up and work again. So I'm working at changing the mindset of the child, though it may just be a hobby, but the mindset is being worked on. Mindset is leading to the brain set, the brain wiring, the myelination, the neural firing of the neurons, and the path that is formed. We are working on all of that little by little every single day. Along with it nourishing the creativity, it is an opportunity for the parents to work with children. There could be adult child bonding, teacher child bonding, and of course the whole planning, the whole time it takes to build it, and the pride I feel when it works, all of those are helping me be a better executor of my own life. There is working memory of whatever is happening. I don't just forget things. The children typically complain that they read and they forget the very next day. And all of this is because of not engaging with learning. But electronics or any hands-on hobby is something that engages child with the product, with the learning. And why does the light doesn't go off? Why did it not buzz? Then go look at the laws of physics that controls it. The electricity flow, is that fine? So eventually it boils down to the healthy dopamine that this brings on. And electronics is used in everyday things these days. So understanding the need of that in today's world, and building that ability to sit through and do it and explore and wait it out, those are the biggest takeaways. It is not just as a hobby, right? So if you can look at any, I mean, electronics is one of them, but any project that is involving the child. We talk about handwork being extremely important. We looked at how handwork or handwriting is going to make me a creative person, is going to make me an intelligent person. It all boils down to the brain science. So let's take advantage of that, at least with the youngsters we have with us, and get them involved in the right kind of doing things rather than just tapping and sliding and scrolling and being in front of the screen. Yeah. So let me know if you do any of these projects and if it gives you any tangible, observable results. Thank you.